SV Math Teach back again. Today we're talking about rotations. Now, because I found an app that can do rotations much better than I can do them, I'm going to go ahead and kind of advertise the app. I opened this one up. I guess I should show you what it was first. The app itself is Transformations by Pyramid Programming. They're not sponsors or anything. They just made a cool app for math teachers. I open it up. I click on rotations, and it's going to show me what a 90-degree clockwise rotation looks like. Or maybe counterclockwise for 180 degrees. It's going to show me what that's going to look like. I've played around with this app a lot. I'm not going to do a lot of it right now in the video. It's a good investment. I think it's $1. Maybe it's even free at this point, but it is something that you can consider. The key component here, however, is this red dot in the center. And while I'm able to move in the app the red dot anywhere that I want it to, I'm going to leave it on the origin because that is by far the most common point of rotation. It's not the only one, but it's the most common one, and it's the one we're going to try to focus on most in these next two examples. So I have an example here where I'm going to try and describe what's happening. And I'll be honest, the first thing that jumps out at me is the side BC. It had been flat on the left-hand side, flat meaning left and right, and now it's not. It's up and down. So right away that tells me that I'm dealing with a rotation. That's a key component right for you. And we went from left to right to up and down. That means 90 degrees. And I went from left to right. That's clockwise. That's right, clockwise. So I know I'm rotating. I know I'm going 90 degrees. I know I'm going clockwise. The only real thing that's left is I usually go around the origin. So I'm going to put origin with kind of a question mark. I'm going to mark the origin, and then I'm going to see, does this make any sense? Right? Like, think of kind of an up and over angle. Like, up and over from the origin to point C. If I took that up and over and rotated it clockwise, it would be over and up. And look how it still touches at point C. That's a really good indicator that this is working. If I tried to do that again, I erased a little too much there. If I tried to do that again, there we go. For a more distant point, let's say point A, and I imagined up and over 3 and 3, and I took this thing and I rotated it 90 degrees, I would be over and up like a windmill. And you see how A and A prime still line up? That means that the origin is my point of rotation. So I rotated 90 degrees clockwise around the origin, which is my most common point. Now I have one more example. In this one, once again, a couple things jump out at me. The first thing that jumps out at me is, I'll start with point A and B again. So this flat line and A and B here, well, it goes flat to flat. That doesn't really make me think of rotation, to be honest. It makes me think that I'm reflecting something. However, the only issue is if I want to get AB to be on the top and all of a sudden down here it's on the bottom, it makes me think that I have to reflect it this way. And I'm not scared of reflecting it that way, but let's do a quick little sketch. If I did a little reflection of this thing, do you see how this diagonal here and this diagonal here don't match up? So the reflection does get my top and bottom to line up correctly, but my diagonals don't line up. So I'm not really happy with this as a reflection. So I'm going to think rotation as an alternative. Now because my left and right is still left and right, it's not 90 degrees, it's 180 degrees. Because I'm rotating 180 degrees, this is a half turn. I don't have to identify clockwise or counterclockwise. It doesn't make any difference. So a rotation of 180 degrees. And then the last piece that I'm going to deal with, we've dealt with the top and the bottom successfully. The last thing I'm going to deal with is I'm going to identify two corresponding points. Let's pick D and D prime, for example. I'm going to connect them, and I'm going to think about what's halfway between. Halfway between is the origin. That is not surprising in any way. That means we're rotating around the origin. And that would have worked if we picked different points, not just D and D prime, but let's pick C and C prime, for example, connect them together, look at the halfway point, and once again, the origin is the halfway point. So rotation, 180 degrees. If you wrote clockwise, you wouldn't be wrong. If you wrote counterclockwise, you wouldn't be wrong. You just don't need to write either one. And around the origin for sure. Good luck with rotations.